Shabbat Shalom, Sabbath peace. Shalom Laha Alahayim, peace to the gods. Awakar Tawab, good morning. Nawathan, Kal Halalim La, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash, giving all praises to Yahweh, in the name Yahweh Shai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors into the elder apostles, the elder bishops, and the heads and elders of all the camps of Great Millstone, GMS, who do well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the Bayaf, the water, the house of David, those predestined spirits of election scattered abroad. This is your brother Tazapani at the Great Millstone, Washington, D.C. camp. Adawan, Ratazah, Lord willing. This quick hit, in transit, meditation before the plantation is edifying to the elect. So, this is kind of like a part 2 from the video that I did yesterday. Just a little bit more research done. More info on the LA riots. And what came up was the so-called declassified, redacted, old, I guess you could say CIA, but any of the department, because it's now joint. They call it interagency. So I'm assuming it was either FBI or CIA with Operation Garden Plot. So first and foremost, let me start talking about what you got going on out here, which gotta be from the CIA, regarding the psychological operation dealing with the so-called conscious community amongst the Negro, Latino, and Native American, so-called, which are the true children of Israel. All right. You got a big thing with this foundational Black American that this CIA asset agent, all right, Tariq Nasheed, has been pushing out there. Even though at one point in time he used to talk about the Israelites, he used to push, that the people in the Bible were black, and that the slave rebellions that happened in America, a lot of them knew that they were Israelites. All of them, matter of fact, because most of them learned to know how to read, and when they read, the Bible, then they understood that the symbiotic relationship between the so-called Negro in slavery and the Israelites, specifically in the Old Testament regarding around Egypt and Moses, was talking about them. All right. So Tariq Nasheed has been pushing this foundational Black American and any other tribe. And I'm gonna use Israelite terms now, because foundational Black American is the tribe of Judah. That's your true tribe, and you're Israelite. There's no such thing. It's a made-up term talking about some foundational Black American to try to pinpoint those Americans that have been here for generations, right? And identify them compared to what he would call tethers. All right, let's say, Caribbean American, Nigerian or Ghanaian American, Puerto Rican American, Dominican American, so on and so forth, to differentiate the difference between other so-called Black people and those that have been here. And the scripture that comes to mind that still is around this topic is in the book of Jeremiah. I don't have the sword on me, so Salakia, roughly paraphrasing here. But it says, Judah shall not vex Ephraim, and Ephraim shall not envy Judah. All right. This is why Yahweh Shai is at the forefront of us, of the hopeful elect that's in this truth, because the Lord broke down the middle wall of partition, the enmity between the two nations, so to speak, the nation of Judah and the nation of Israel, which were the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Southern kingdom being Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the northern kingdom being the other, tribes, what we like to call the Latin tribes, so to speak, from Ephraim down onto Issachar. Okay? And, Judah was not the firstborn, and Reuben was the firstborn. Ephraim did get the birthright. However, the scepter did not depart away from Judah. Hence, Yahweh Shai sprang up out of the tribe of Judah. Okay? So the understanding of that scripture that I paraphrase, right? Because when you understand the history, so you can know the mystery, right, of the whole understanding of Israelite foreigners, the Hellenization period, those that were called Gentiles in the flesh, because the southern kingdom was keeping the letter of the law. They, it wasn't in faith in Yahweh Shai, but they were doing what was commanded to them, to the best of their ability, of their understanding at the time. So they looked at their brothers with disdain, and they would vex them. Vexation, the vex means to annoy. So they would mock them with names like Gentiles or heathen and things of that nature, or you're not our people, or you're not our brothers. And then Ephraim would be envious of Judah, based upon the king, and because at a certain point in time, the northern kingdom would set up their own kings and set up their own places for sacrifice, which wasn't commanded by the Lord. The Lord specifically picked Jerusalem, and the Lord specifically picked King David. So Jerusalem being, located, it was in the middle, because Ephraim touched it on the north end, but Benjamin was kind of like on the east end, and most of it was bordering Judah, compared to Samaria, which was encompassed by all of the northern kingdom. But that envious of that, certain promises and things of that nature went towards Judah, right? I got something like that. But so what does that have to do with these LA riots and things of that nature? Because I'm seeing, which it always, that tension has been there, but now it's kind of pushing to the forefront. You've got alternative media people telling Los Angeles foundational Black Americans to stand down, which we shouldn't be protesting anyway, because that shit is not going to do nothing. We're under the curses. Deuteronomy 28:68 says you're going to go into Egypt again with ships where no man shall buy you. All right, which means to redeem you. No protesting is going to redeem you out of your situation. It's going to buy you back from the slavery that you're under. So it's completely pointless. In Lamentations, it said it's a good thing for a man to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. All right, so basically to fear the Most High and keep his commandments and wait for the Lord to deliver us, because he said he was going to deliver us. Okay? So there has to be trust in the Lord, not leaning upon your own understanding, because the Lord, his word doesn't go out void. If he says something is going to happen, it's going to happen. But that's where faith comes in. And most of our people lack faith. Oh, ye of little faith. All right. So now, again, you got, them telling us that don't ride with them, but which is kind of like underlyingly, starting some type of tension between the tribes again. So it shows you that really the only time that Ezekiel 37, the one stick Judah and his companions, and the other stick Ephraim and his companions coming together to be one stick, and now shall be no more two nations, but shall be one nation with one prince or one king. I forgot which term it used, which is talking about King David. All right, I think it's prince, but that only is going to happen through the blood of Yahweh Shai. So if you're not in this faith, you're not in this truth, okay, and you're of various different tribes, you're still going to have that enmity, towards each other, basically because you're carnal. Oh, this nigga is light skinned and got straight jet black hair, and this dude is more heavily melanated and got woolly hair, so they not our people, just carnal, not knowing that the tribes is going to look different anyway, because Jacob had children with 4 different women, miscegenation and mingling with other people over periods of time, all type of things. But the Spirit bears witness that we're the sons of the living power. Can't knock it. It is what it is. The 12 tribe chart is official. Now, when I started doing the research and looking up Chat GBT, all right, when was the last time that not just National Guard, but we're talking Army or Marines, was deployed? The scriptures say there's nothing new under the sun in Ecclesiastes. It was in 1992 in LA during the Rodney King riots. They actually deployed. It was either the Army or the Marines, to restore law and order or some shit like that. All right. So, what does that say? All right. And I wasn't there, but I've seen, videos and things of that nature of when it happened, and how it started off as a Judah thing, but then it kind of turned into, if you was, if you was a so-called Mexican, Issachar, they would kind of like let you a pass, because anybody that looked like Esau was getting touched. Moab was getting touched. Moab was on the top of they stores, shooting and all type of, to not get looted. So back in the 60s, late 50s for real, in the 60s, because of Vietnam War protests, the assassination of Martin Luther King, riots in Detroit, riots in D.C. The D.C. one was because of Martin Luther King. The Detroit one, I think, was regarding, if y'all seen that movie Detroit, where it was like the cops was going crazy because at that house party or something like that, and you had veterans and things of that nature. But there was executive orders passed in an Operation Garden Plot to incite the Insurrection Act that was written in 1807 to deploy government federal troops to assist local and state police to quell seditionist acts, insurrectionist type acts, and things of that nature. And they said post-op 2001 is when it discontinued and then they made a new one, but they made it interagency. That's why I said what I said before, with the DOD, Homeland Security, other type of department agencies. All right. And notice in a garden plot, right? You plant a garden, you put certain plants in there, or just like how you would say you plant a seed, and then if something you don't like in your garden, you pluck it out. So I feel like, just through the spirit, Operation Garden Plot was like a two-tier type of thing, that where you rooted up what they call grassroots movements, and then you planted in informants and agents to control the narrative regarding the reaction of oppression, specifically of the 12 tribes of Israel, so-called Negro, Latino, Native American. And this kind of like, it goes into Ezekiel 37 as well, when you start to talk about the sinews coming together in the flesh, all before the breath of life, on how Jake was kind of rising up, but they wasn't in the truth. They didn't have faith in Yahweh Shai. So all these things was pretty much coming to naught. Your what is it? Your Brown Berets, I think, Black Panthers, so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So we are now seeing, because during George Floyd, they had federal troops on standby, but it was pretty much all National Guard that was out there in them streets. But now you actually have 700 Marines out there to try to do what they, what Nero, Caesar, aka DJT, President Trump, to try to seem like some tough guy, all right, and to be about his word, be a man of his word, and try to, make America great again, so that they don't burn down cities. But, we're seeing prophecy in front of our eyes, and the stage being set, through Hegelian dialectic, order out of chaos, order out of chaos, pressure from above, pressure from below, so on and so forth. Because Jake is not prudent. In Proverbs, it says that the prudent man foreseeth evil and hideth himself, but the simple go on and are punished. So if you want to be simple, Jake, go on ahead. We'll laugh at your calamity, pursuant to Proverbs 1. You're going to be punished by the Lord's sword, which is Esau, the wicked, as David said in the book of Psalms. Deliver me from the wicked, which is thy sword. So you want to protest in this thing, not knowing that agent provocateurs, crisis actors, again, which has been revealed, because you're emotional and you're not in the spirit, you're going to be punished, man. So don't say nothing when you get a rubber bullet to the head and you start bleeding profusely, like I've seen videos from, or you get a baton, to the noggin, and it knock your shit out, or you start screaming and crying because you got tear gas and mace, point blank range to your eyes, because you want to be simple and go on. The scriptures say, follow not a multitude to do evil, because they got it set up now where all major cities has planned protests this weekend, June 14th. Now, where's this money coming from to be able to strategically and intricately plan protests in major cities and to block off railways and highways and things of that nature. And it just so happens it all happened to be at the same time when Nero Caesar, aka Trump, is going to have his birthday parade with all these tanks and things of that nature. And supposedly they saying that that is really a cover-up to besiege DC. Now we're going to see, because Lord willing, we still got a plan to go to camp. I'm part of the DC camp, so Lord willing, we gonna be out there. Who knows what the traffic and everything like that gonna look like? But it is what it is. But all that George Soros and all wars are bankers' wars. So at the end of the day, it's really all going to go back to the international banking families as far as who's funding the beginning of this civil war. Because now they're saying in history to come, would this be the time that it was the beginning of the civil war? We'll see. But I'm getting more and more convinced through the spirit that, hey, that might be it, man. Because civil war is prophesied in the scriptures. It says friends shall fight one another, neighbor against neighbor. It talks about, and all this is 2nd Edges 15, 2nd Edges 16, right? That, they shall not regard their princes nor rulers, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power, that a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. There's a lot of talks, more and more of this martial law, man. And if Nero is able to do something that hasn't happened since 1992, I don't really think it's nothing for him to be like, yeah, nah, we're gonna shut this bitch down. We in martial law. Shit is happening to. It wouldn't be surprising, because we at this point we have in full faith that he's going to be the president. Lord willing, of course, we'll see. But it looks like he will be the president to push the mark of the beast and to usher in World War III. So it's nothing for him to do martial law for people to have checkpoints going here and going there. So there's a lot of strife going on right now. There's a lot of not talked about tensions amongst the Latin tribes and the so-called Negroid tribes. A lot of psychological operations coming from Esau and who the enemy is. I've seen a video where it looked like Issachar, but who knows? He had the mask on with the glasses, and he was basically trying to say the police is the enemy. Which, you want to go up for that fight, go right ahead. Or if anybody believe that dumb shit, thinking that they can just go and start a skirmish with your local police, all right, stupid. So, like I said, we gonna see what really happens. But shit is about to go down regardless because it was prophesied to. So, if look up Operation Garden Plot while we have the time. Use AI, Chat GBT, DeepSeek to for learning purposes, educational purposes, right? What's the name? And yeah, and I'm gonna say this again, from the brothers, Elder Malcolm's sons, Yatazakak and Maccabee, they've always told me that, Elder Malcolm, said it's gonna start in the West first, man. So we seeing, these riots start in Cali, and then it's looking like it's going to start spreading, making that wave towards the East Coast. So we'll see, man. And I'm with them brothers in the spirit, definitely. So shalom to those brothers, those beloved brothers. But yeah, man, so Lord willing, hey, that was edifying. Made it to my destination. On to the next one. Shalom.